Greetings to all our precious viewers. We greet you with the good news that Jesus Christ is Lord. He is the King of kings and the Lord of lords. We have a hope right in this life that someday He's going to come and take us out of this world. We want to say thanks to you for being with us for the past few weeks as we were dealing with the rapture. And we trust God that by now you're ready and that you prepare for this great event. We want to speak to parents today, and we want to challenge you, not only parents, but guardians, to focus on your children. You know, you don't know who you have under your wings, who you have under your watchful eyes. We just take them for granted. If we don't study them, we would not understand that the potentials that they have in us right under your wings. You have great leaders, not only in politics or in the academic field. You may have great sportsmen right under your wings. And so you need to discover their potential at an early age. And when you discover their potentials, don't say it is impossible. No, you need to help them. In this life, we must live a balanced life. I am confident today that right in your home, under your watchful eyes, you have great leaders in school. You may have boxers, cricketers, footballers. You need to identify their potentials, and we want to challenge you. Work with them. Don't give up. No. Help them to live this life. There's some who are striving. They want to get at the top. It's in them, but they need a push from you. Parents, guardians, you're important. And so we want to challenge you to focus on them and pay attention to them. You'll be hearing more on this program. So please don't leave this program. Stay with us. The Lord bless you and the Lord continue to bless beautiful Guyana. Thank you.
You know, the Olympics held in Tokyo, Japan, has been a revelation in the sense that in the midst of a pandemic, we saw persons rising to occasions that we may have never seen. Persons battled with the pandemic and still performed to their optimal. Um, we still saw optimal performance. And that in itself speaks to us as a people, how we are resilient, how we could actually uh, deal and endure adversity and still do well. And this is what we've seen in Tokyo, in Japan. We want to really commend those persons who actually participated from Guyana. I may not remember all the names, but I remember Miss Abrams, Passad, Alikak, Ejil, and these are persons that Guyana sent, and actually did well in terms of advancing, in terms of not being knocked out at the beginning of any stage, but actually they would have done well. And life is a process, and therefore we believe that the process has begun in terms of us um, transforming this nation as it relates to sports. So we have seen signs of hope in terms of the persons that went to represent us at the Olympics. But we will also want to advocate that the role of parents in this process, and we'll start with parents, the role of parents is so critical, what parents do and how parents treat with the dreams of their children. You know, I could recall from a personal perspective, I would like my son personally, you know, all of us want our children to be lawyers and doctors and so on. And the young man came to me and said he wants to be a cricketer. And you know, I thought about it, but what I will not do is attempt to kill his dream. As a matter of fact, only recently he said to me the other day, he said, "Look, when I get going, I will buy you a big house, man." And so, so I'm saying that I really hope to be around, because you're just 12. But he said, "No, Dad, I will buy you a big house, man. Why worry? Just let me get past the stage." And so let us not kill the dreams of our children. Of course, we're not advocating that they must not stick to schooling. We're not advocating that at all, that they must not stick to school, and we recognize how important, how significant schooling is, because I think it was the great West Indian captain, Clive Lloyd. He said, "Look, the game of cricket is played, for example," he said, 10% of the game is from the neck down, and 90% of the game is played from your neck up, which means that education is important. And so you could only be great in whatever sport that child chooses if the child is educated. We recognize that. But we were also saying that let us not destroy the dreams of those children if they want to engage in some sporting activity. We heard they might want to engage in swimming, basketball, cricket, whatever, table tennis. Let us understand that these games that they may want to engage in could bring glory not only to themselves and to their families, but to a nation. And a nation could actually become transformed. When we look at Jamaica, we look at some of those sprinters. We look at Hera, Elaine Thompson Hera. When we look at Parchment and Gardner, some of these guys came out of abject poverty. Some of them, they hadn't things going for them. But look what, in the midst of a pandemic, these men emerged with gold medals and brought glory to the nation. So we want to really start this conversation with our parents, because we know our parents in this country, many of them, all they think about is CSEC and National Grade 6 assessment and so on. And so life is not centered wholly and solely on these things. Our children, they have giftings. I think it was Bill Hendricks said everyone is born gifted. And the one who feeds that gift, who's allowed to cultivate that gift, is the one who will expand and bring glory to a people, to a nation, to a community. And so we want to speak specifically to our parents today in terms of allowing our children to fulfill their purpose and their giftings. Gentlemen.
Listen, I'm fascinated. I could have listened to your motivational speech for the duration of the program. Thank you. You did well in encouraging our parents. Jesus in Luke 19 and 13 made a statement. He said, "Occupy until I come." What I find fascinating is that we have occupied, when he said occupy, it's not just restricted to the religious or the spiritual realm. He was talking about the total realm. Occupy until I come. Those young and not so young athletes, whether they were throwing the javelin, throwing the discus, running the 100 meters, and I know you listen to us, it's not just men, but women have placed their mark on this Olympics in an unmistakable way. I watched the heptathlon, and I was amazed at how they not only showed their prowess on the field, but at the end they decorated the gold, silver, and bronze medalists. They made a kind of a motif, something they designed with their bodies lying on the field, and I thought this is creativity um, there. And Jesus spoke about occupying until I come. Those people are occupying for the days that they were assigned in the midst of a pandemic, and running blind sometimes, running at blistering speed, swimming, uh, riding horses. I think at one time at President's College they had a sport um, where the young people were encouraged. What we are trying to say here is we want to encourage parents to begin to invest in your children. Some children, it's not just academics. Create the balance. And the glory that will come 18 years after, um, 20 years after, will be major glory, not just to yourself, as was said just now, but to the nation. Look at this young man, Gardner. He's from Bahamas has 700 islands and keys. He's from one of those small islands, I think is outside Abaco. And on his island, it is assumed that 950 people live on his island. He just won the 400 meters flat in unbelievable times. And he beat the field was very good. He's from a small island. We could put that island in the Escribo how many times? And he has brought glory to his country. Every Bahamian shaking the cowbell and beating and dancing the John Canoe in Bahamas right now because of the performance of this young Bahamian. I am looking forward to the day, whether it's in the aquatic pool, that this young lady who's 15 years old and or an athlete or a boxer would be able to bring an Olympic medal home for us to celebrate and to bask in this glory. But parents, PTAs, let us see how best we can get this movement. The structure, infrastructure, and those things, that comes at a different end. But we have to try to start it someplace. May God help all of us.
May God help us. Tokyo Olympics has demonstrated not just skill, ability, but training, mental toughness, and all of those things are resident right here in Guyana. And but it also demonstrates the harnessing of those abilities and skills, the training, the determination to train, and the showcasing of those skills. I have been really challenged by the pure giftings and determination I see coming out. And it reminds me that for all of us, God has gifted us. And whatever He has gifted us, I normally put it this way: whatever you're good at, you have a passion for, there is where you have a gift. And wherever you have a gift, God wants to use you. I would say, use a church term, use you in ministry, meaning use you to be a blessing, not just to yourself, but to those who are around you and to God Himself. And so I would like to encourage parents to recognize and to remember that children are an heritage, are a blessing from God, and they've all come packaged, and we should not allow them to grow without recognizing and helping them to see and helping them to develop that gifting that is there, that extraordinary skill, that speed that we take for granted, that skill on the table tennis board. And lots of times, I believe it is at home you first see those things. And if we could only recognize them and start harnessing them, we will be the first coaches for our children, the first mentors for them, and helping them to become who God has created them to be.
Michael Paris, I want to salute him. Um, Given the fact that he so far is the only medalist that we have gotten from the Olympics. He won it in boxing in 1980.
But as we look at the Tokyo Olympics, we see the athletes, and sometimes we have a snapshot of some of the coaches and trainers. But the parents, like you correctly said, must be the ones who will first identify talent. One of the stories that come readily to mind, it's about the famous American footballer, O.J. Simpson. I mean, we know all about O.J. In his latter years. But his mother identified the fact that he was good at running with the football, but he had an impediment, what we call here in Guyana, foot or parato. And what she did, she gave him a shoe to wear them left to right. By that I mean the shoes that were meant for his right foot, she put it on the left foot, which assisted in straightening. I mean, this was a poor family, but she saw the gifts in this child. She wanted him to do well. And given the fact that they were poor, she applied an innovative way to help him. And that assisted him quite a lot because he is in the American Football Hall of Fame. And he did, I think it was the Buffalo Bills, can't remember if that's correct, but he did exceptionally well. So the point is that we want to encourage parents to pay even a keen attention to your children. They might exhibit some traits that only you will be able to identify. And if you're able to identify it at the formative years, it will go a long way. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that in my lifetime, I'll be able to hold an Olympic gold medal that has been brought home here by a Guyanese athlete. I mean, we talk quite a lot about persons of Guyanese parentage who are living overseas, but I want to hold one that has been won by a Guyanese, born, bred, fed, reared, and everything right here, eating our all types of Guyanese food and come back. Like what the Jamaicans are celebrating with the yam and all of that. I want us to celebrate with our cassava, those plantains, sweet potato, and everything. I want to hold that gold medal.
That's a great dream. And, as we continue to foster this discussion, one of the most heartening things for me in viewing the Olympics in Tokyo is the fact that the broadcasters, they would beam from, especially with the American athletes, they would beam from a small village in Arizona or some small village in Texas where family members and members of the neighborhood would be gathered and they would be looking at the Olympics, encouraging the athlete, the particular athlete that they are supporting. That for me, it just speaks volumes. And to the fact also that your family, your parents, your family, your neighborhood, your community they have a critical role to play in your life. And I recall, I think it was Noah Lyles, the athlete that I think he got the bronze medal in the 200 meter race. And he credited his success, most of his success, to his mother. And there you saw her in her pride, she was so heartened to see her son achieving this great achievement. So, and I even saw I think it's the Canadian athlete that won the 200 meter. They beamed his family in Canada. There was a young lady with a baby in her hand. I don't know how many of you saw it, but she was jumping up and down. At one time, I'm saying, this woman got to remember that she has a baby in her hand. But it's just the excitement, the joy to celebrate with your son, your daughter, your sibling, somebody from your neighborhood. And so we want to encourage our parents to continue to invest in your children. And many times it starts with even the child in the womb.
parents would lay hand on that child. They would speak well over that child even before birth. And so we have to continue the process because we are the first to spot the talents, to see the giftings, and continue to nourish that, continue to foster that, and create that enabling environment so that they can grow and develop into greatness.
And competition is also biblical, racing and all of this. If you look in 1 Corinthians 9:24, you'll see this, they tell you to run, run the race so that you can win. So I think that even speaks to the topic of self-control and athleticism and all of that. And I think that in a time like this, Guyana is going through a unique period of growth and development, and being able to understand, competition is good and sports is good. It's important for our families, our parents, our communities to understand that helping our young performers to develop self-control in different areas and helping them to operate within these controlled environments could actually enable them to perform even better. So if you have a child or there's a child in your community that you see has a unique ability, something that is really stand out, some sort of skill or ability that naturally they're better at or it stands out, I think it's important for you to identify that skill or that ability in the child that's unique, and also engage them, let them know, you're talented, you're skilled. And don't only say it with your words, give them a football, give them a cricket bat. If you can't hire a coach for them, it's important for us to identify and develop those key resources and talents, those key skills and abilities in our young people, and encourage them. You never know how far they could go. And many of these athletes don't necessarily come, this is across the world, many of the athletes don't come from the most affluent homes, but they have a system around them that empowers them to perform. So I think that on a day like today, it's important for us to empower those around us who we can help, and help them to get to the next level. We might not be able to get them to the Olympics, but we can move them from the street to the stadium.
Well, when we talk about families, and we could talk the whole range, it is important, for example, in our housing development program, that not just space must be identified and put out there for sports grounds. It must be developed. You're driving through communities and children are playing on the road and all those things. We need to attach importance to to a public space for recreation. I remember especially when I was looking at the same Olympics, looking at the game between New Zealand and Fiji. New Zealand, the world champion in rugby. And I remember when I was in Fiji, every street, every space in the afternoons, empty space at the side of the street, it was remarkable. Children were playing rugby, children, boys and girls, running and throwing the rugby. And I thought, I didn't know much about New Zealand's, the Fijians' ability. And then I recognized that this thing, they have a nursery. And this thing is empowered. They're the best sevens, I think, in the world. They defeated New Zealand in that gold medal game. These guys, and I made a connection between what I saw on that field and what I saw in the streets there in Fiji. We need to create the infrastructure that is necessary, and we need to be able, parents at that beginning level, if we continue this discussion, then we will find a place for the importance of coaches. Very important people. Most important from the beginning to the end, coaches. And there are some people pomposetting as coaches. We're not talking about that kind of coach.
I like how this discussion is going because it gives us
Bishop,
an opportunity to really look from within. Lots of times we cast blame. Why we're not getting the kind of results that we want is them people outside there. They gotta create this structure and so on, which is good. Of course, we have to have that discussion. But today we've brought it home. We're taking a look at the first and basic unit of society, the home. And I want to submit that parents have that front seat view to their children's gifts and potential. And we have to think along that line. But perhaps sometimes, they are bogged down by the cares of this world. They're thinking about the politics, about the economics. You don't have time. So you abandon the vehicle. And, these children just grow. And you're not taking the time to watch them and see them grow and develop, watch to see their different giftings and skills. Sometimes you just got to slow down and observe them. Mike Murdoch, we would always use this quote from time to time in Choices, speaking about the law of recognition, which says anything that is unrecognized is uncelebrated. Anything that is uncelebrated is unrewarded. Anything that is unrewarded exits your life. So we have a role to play as parents: sit, observe, and celebrate.
Limar, you have the last 50 seconds.
The motto of the Olympics is faster, higher, stronger together. Even as we encourage us, the relevant stakeholders, we should adhere to that motto. In order to get faster, stronger, and higher, we need to do it together. Every institution involved needs to play a part. The relevant stakeholders, parents, school teachers, mentors, coaches. We need to invest in Guyana's future. And these athletes need our support. We need to fund them, we need to support them, and let them know that they're appreciated and they have the ability to compete with the world's best. This is Choices. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.
I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.